Phenomenology, Western Part 1. In this lesson, you would get to know about phenomenology as it is viewed from the Western perspectives and research. Phenomenology is the study of structures of consciousness as experienced from the first person point of view. The central structure of an experience is its intentionality. It is being directed towards something as it is an experience or about some object. An experience is directed toward an object by virtue of its content or meaning, which represents the object, together with the appropriate enabling conditions. Phenomenology as a discipline is distinct from but related to other key disciplines in philosophy such as ontology, epistemology, logic and ethics. Phenomenology has been practiced in various guises for centuries, but it came into its own in the early 20th century in the works of Husserl, Heidegger, Sartre, Merleau-Ponty and others. Phenomenology issues of intentionality, consciousness, qualia and first person perspective have been prominent in recent philosophy of mind. To inform the student of visual communication how phenomenology can be understood from some major areas of culture. To educate the learner of visual communication about various ways to understand the phenomenology. What is phenomenology? Phenomenology is commonly understood in either of two ways, as disciplinary field in philosophy or as a movement in the history of philosophy. The discipline of phenomenology may be defined initially as the study of structures of experience or consciousness. Literally, phenomenology is the study of phenomena, appearances of things or things as they appear in our experience or the ways we experience things, thus meanings things have in our experience. Phenomenology studies conscious experience as experienced from the subjective or first person point of view. This field of philosophy is then to be distinguished from and related to the other main fields of philosophy: ontology, the study of being or what is; epistemology, the study of knowledge; logic, the study of valid reasoning; ethics, the study of right and wrong action, etc. The historical movement of phenomenology is the philosophical tradition launched in the first half of the 20th century by Edmund Husserl, Martin Heidegger, Maurice Merleau-Ponty, Jean-Paul Sartre et al. In that movement, the discipline of phenomenology was prized as the proper foundation of all philosophy as opposed, say, to ethics or metaphysics or epistemology. The method and characterization of the discipline were widely deliberated by Husserl and his successors, and these debates continue to the present day. The definition of phenomenology offered above will thus be debated, for example, by Heideggerians, but it remains the starting point in characterizing the discipline. In recent philosophy of mind, the term phenomenology is often restricted to the characterization of sensory qualities of seeing, hearing, etc., what it is like to have sensations of various kinds. However, our experience is normally much richer in content than mere sensation. Accordingly, in the phenomenological tradition, phenomenology is given a much wider range, addressing the meaning things have in our experience, notably the significance of objects, events, tools, the flow of time, the self and others as these things arise or experienced in our life world. Phenomenology as a discipline has been central to the tradition of continental European philosophy throughout the 20th century, while philosophy of mind has evolved in the Austro-Anglo-American tradition of analytic philosophy that developed throughout the 20th century. At the fundamental character of mental activity is pursued overlapping ways within these two traditions. Accordingly, the perspective on phenomenology drawn in this article will accommodate both traditions. Main concern here will be to characterize the discipline of phenomenology in a contemporary purview, while also highlighting the historical tradition that brought the discipline into its own. Basically, phenomenology studies the structure of various types of experience ranging from perception, thought, memory, imagination, emotion, desire and volition to bodily awareness, embodied action and social activity, including linguistic activity. The structure of these forms experience typically involves what Husserl called intentionality, that is, directedness of experience towards things in the world, the property of consciousness, that it is a consciousness of or about something. According to classical Husserlian phenomenology, our experience is directed towards, represents or intends things only through particular concepts, thoughts, ideas, images, etc. These make up the meaning or content of a given experience and are distinct from things they present or mean. The basic intentional structure of consciousness we find in reflection of analysis involves further forms of experience. Thus, phenomenology develops a complex account of temporal awareness within the stream of consciousness, spatial awareness, notably in perception, attention, distinguishing social and margins of horizontal Awareness, awareness of one's own experience, self-consciousness in one sense. Self-awareness, awareness of oneself, the self in different roles as thinking, acting, etc. Embodied action, including kinesthetic awareness of one's own movement, purpose or intention in action, more or less explicit awareness of other persons in empathy, intersubjectivity, collectivity, linguistic activity involving meaning, communication, understanding others, social interaction including collective action, and everyday activity in our surrounding life world, in particular culture. Furthermore, in a different dimension, we find various grounds or enabling conditions of the possibility of intentionality, including embodiment, bodily skills, cultural context, language, and other social practices, social background, and contextual aspects of intentional activities. Thus, phenomenology leads from conscious experience into conditions that help to give experience its intentionality. Traditional phenomenology has focused subjective, practical, and social conditions of experience. Recent philosophy of mind, however, has focused especially on the neutral substrate of experience, on how conscious experience and mental representation or intentionality are grounded in brain activity. It remains a difficult question how much of these grounds of experience fall within the province of phenomenology as a discipline. Cultural conditions thus seem close to our experience and to our familiar self understanding than do the electrochemical workings of our brain, much less our dependence on quantum mechanical states of physical systems to which we may belong. The cautious thing to say is that phenomenology leads in some ways into at least some background conditions of our experience. The discipline of phenomenology. The discipline of phenomenology is defined by its domain of study, its methods, and its main results. Phenomenology studies the structures of conscious experience as experienced from the first person point of view, along with relevant conditions of experience. The central structure of an experience is its intentionality, the way it is directed to its content or meaning toward a certain object in the world. We all experience various types of experience, including perception, imagination, thought, emotion, desire, volition, and action. Thus, the domain of phenomenology is the range of experiences including these types among others. Experience includes not only relatively passive experiences as in vision or hearing, but also active experience as in walking or hammering a nail or kicking a ball. The range will be specific to each species of being that enjoys consciousness. Our focus is in our own human experience. Not all conscious beings will or will be able to practice phenomenology as we do. Conscious experiences have a unique feature. We experience them, we live through them or perform them. Other things in the world we may observe and engage, but we do not experience them in this sense of living through or performing them. This experiential or first person feature that of being experienced is an essential part of the nature or structure of conscious experience. As we say, I see, I think, I desire, I do. This feature is both a phenomenological and an ontological feature of each experience. It is part of what it is for the experience to be experienced, phenomenological, and part of what it is for the experience to be ontological. How shall we study conscious experience? We reflect on various types of experiences just as we experience them. That is to say, we proceed from the first person point of view. However, we do not normally characterize an experience at the time we are performing it. In many cases, we do not have that capability. A state of intense anger or fear, for example, consumes all of one's psychic focus at the time. Rather, we acquire a background of having lived through a given type of experience, and we look to our familiarity with that type of experience. Hearing a song, seeing a sunset, thinking about love, intending to jump a hurdle. The practice of phenomenology assumes such familiarity with the type of experiences to be characterized. Importantly, also it is types of experience that phenomenology pursues rather than a particular feeling of experience, unless its type is what interests us. Classical phenomenologists practiced some three distinguishable methods. We describe a type of experience just as we find it in our own past experience. Thus, Husserl and Merleau-Ponty spoke of pure description of the lived experience. We interpret a type of experience by relating it to relevant features of context in this vein. Heidegger and his followers spoke of hermeneutics, the art of interpretation in context, especially social and linguistic contexts. We analyze the form of a type of experience in the end. All the classical phenomenologists practiced analysis of experience, factoring out notable features for further elaboration. These traditional methods have been ramified in recent decades, expanding the methods available to phenomenology. Thus, in a logico-semantic model of phenomenology, we specify the truth conditions for a type of thinking, say, where I think dogs chase cats, or the satisfaction condition for a type of intention, say where I intend or will to jump that hurdle. As we interpret the phenomenological description, further we may assess the relevance of the context of experience, and we may turn to wider conditions of the possibility of that type of experience. In this way, in the practice of phenomenology, we classify, describe, interpret and analyze structures of experiences in ways that answer to our own experience. In such interpretive descriptive analysis of experience, we immediately observe that we are analyzing familiar forms of consciousness. Conscious experience of or about this or that intentionality is thus the salient structure of our experience, and much of phenomenology proceeds the study of different aspects of intentionality. Thus we explore the structures of the stream of consciousness, the embodied self and bodily action. From phenomena to phenomenology, the Oxford Dictionary presents the following definition: phenomenology, A, the science of phenomenon as distinct from being ontology. B, the division of any science which describes and classifies its phenomena. From the Greek phenomenon, appearance in philosophy, the term is used in the first sense amid debates of theory and methodology. The philosophy of science, the term is used in the second sense, albeit only occasionally. In its root meaning, then phenomenology is the study of phenomena, literally appearances as opposed to reality. This ancient distinction launched philosophy as we emerged from Plato's cave. Yet the discipline of phenomenology did not blossom until 20th century and remains poorly understood in many circles of contemporary philosophy. Originally, in the 18th century, phenomenology meant the theory of appearances fundamental to empirical knowledge, especially sensory appearances. The Latin term phenomenologia was introduced by Christopher Friedrich Oettinger in 1736. Subsequently, the German term phenomenologia was used by Johann Heinrich Lambert, a follower of Christian Wolff. Immanuel Kant used the term occasionally in various writings, as did John Gottlieb Fichte. In 1807, G.W.F. Hegel wrote a book titled Phenomenology des Geistes, usually translated as Phenomenology of Spirit. By 1989, Franz Brentano used the term to characterize what he called descriptive psychology. From there, Edmund Husserl took up the term for his new science of consciousness, and the rest is history. Suppose we say phenomenology studies phenomena and it appearing, how shall we understand the phenomena? The term has a rich history in recent centuries in which we can see traces of the emerging discipline of phenomenology. In a strict rationalist vein, by contrast, what appears before the mind are ideas, rationally formed, clear and distinct ideas. In René Descartes' idea, in Immanuel Kant's theory of knowledge, fusing rationalist and empiricist aims, what appears to be the mind or phenomenon defined as things as they appear or things as they are represented in a synthesis of sensory and conceptual forms of objects as known. In Auguste Comte's theory of science, phenomena are the facts that a given science would explain. In 18th and 19th century epistemology, then phenomena are the starting points in building knowledge, especially science. Accordingly, in a familiar and still current sense, a phenomena are whatever we observe, perceive and seek to explain. As the disciplines of psychology emerged late in the 19th century, however, phenomena took on somewhat different guise in Franz Brentano's psychology. From an empirical standpoint, phenomena are what occur in the mind. Mental phenomena are acts of consciousness or their contents, and physical phenomena are objects of external perception starting with colors and shapes. For Brentano, physical phenomena exist intentionally in acts of consciousness. This view revives a medieval notion Brentano called intentional in existence, but the ontology remains underdeveloped. What is it to exist in the mind, and do physical objects exist only in the mind? More generally, we might say phenomena are what we are conscious of, objects and events around us, other people, ourselves, even our own conscious experiences. As we experience these in a certain technical sense, phenomena are things as they are given to our consciousness, whether in perception or imagination or thought or volition. This conception of phenomena would soon inform the new discipline of phenomenology. Phenomenology, as we know, it was launched by Edmund Husserl in his logical investigation. Two importantly different lines of theory came together in that monumental work: psychological theory on the heels of Franz Brentano and also William James, whose principles of psychology appeared in 1891 and greatly impressed Husserl, and logical or semantic theory on the heels of Bernard Bolzano and Husserl's contemporaries who founded modern logic, including Gottlob Frege. Interestingly, both lines of research trace back to Aristotle, and both reached importantly new results in Husserl's day. Husserl's logical investigations was inspired by Bolzano's ideal of logic while taking up Brentano's conception of descriptive psychology. In his theory of science, Bolzano distinguished between subjective and objective ideas or representations. In effect, Bolzano criticized Kant and before him the classical empiricist rationalists for failing to make this sort of distinction, thereby rendering phenomena merely subjective. Logic studies objective ideas, including propositions, which in turn make up objective theories, as in the sciences. Psychology would, by contrast, study subjective ideas, the concrete contents, occurrences of mental activities in particular minds at given time. Husserl was after both within a single discipline, so phenomena must be reconceived as objective intentional contents, sometimes called intentional objects of subjective acts of consciousness. Phenomenology would then study this complex of consciousness and correlated phenomena. For Husserl, their phenomenology integrates a kind of psychology with a kind of logic. It develops a descriptive or analytic psychology in that it describes and analyzes types of subjective mental activity or experience, in short, acts of consciousness. Yet it develops a kind of logic, a theory of meaning. Today we say logical semantics, in what it describes and analyzes objective contents of consciousness, ideas, concepts, images, propositions, in short, ideal meanings of various types that serve as intentional contents or pneumatic meanings of various types of experience. These contents are shareable by different acts of consciousness. In that sense, they are objective ideal meanings. Following Bolzano and to some extent the Platonistic logician Hermann Lorgy, Husserl opposed any reduction of logic or mathematics or science to mere psychology, to how people happen to think, and in the same spirit he distinguished phenomenology from mere psychology. For Husserl, phenomenology would study consciousness without reducing the objective and shareable meanings that inhabit experience to merely subjective happenstances. Ideal meaning would be the engine of intentionality in acts of consciousness. The history and varieties of phenomenology. Phenomenology came into its own with Husserl, much as epistemology came into its own with Descartes, and ontology or metaphysics came into its own with Aristotle on the heels of Plato. Yet phenomenology has been practiced with or without the name for many centuries. When Hindu and Buddhist philosophers reflected on the states of consciousness achieved in a variety of meditative states, they were practicing phenomenology. When Descartes, Hume and Kant characterized the states of perception, thought and imagination, they were practicing phenomenology. When Brentano classified varieties of mental phenomena defined by the directedness of consciousness, he was practicing phenomenology. When William James appraised the kinds of mental activity in the stream of consciousness, including their embodiment and their dependence on habit, he too was practicing phenomenology. And when recent analytic philosophers of mind have addressed issues of consciousness intentionality, they have often been practicing phenomenology. Still, the discipline of phenomenology, its roots tracing back through the centuries, came into full flower. Husserl's work was followed by a flurry of phenomenological writing in the first half of 20th century. The diversity of traditional phenomenology is apparent in the Encyclopedia of Phenomenology. Features separate articles on some 7 types of phenomenology. Transcendental constitutive phenomenology studies how objects are constituted in pure or transcendental consciousness, setting aside questions of any relation to the natural world around us. Naturalistic constitutive phenomenology studies how consciousness constitutes or takes things in the world of nature, assuming with the natural attitude that consciousness is a part of nature. Existential phenomenology studies concrete human existence, including our experience of free choice or action in concrete situations. Generative historicist phenomenology studies how meaning as found in our experience is generated in historical processes of collective experience over time. Genetic phenomenology studies the genesis of meanings of things which one's own stream of experience. Hermeneutical phenomenology studies interpretive structures of experience, how we understand and engage things around us in our human world, including ourselves and others. Realistic phenomenology studies the structure of consciousness and intentionality, assuming it occurs in real world that is largely external to consciousness and not somehow brought into being by consciousness. Phenomenology and ontology, epistemology, logic and ethics. The discipline of phenomenology forms one basic field in philosophy among others. However, phenomenology distinguished from and related to other fields in philosophy. Traditionally, philosophy includes at least 4 core fields or disciplines: ontology, epistemology, ethics, logic. Suppose phenomenology joins that list. Consider then these elementary definitions of field. Ontology is the study of beings or their being. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Logic is the study of valid reasoning. Ethics is the study of right and wrong. Phenomenology is the study of our experience. The domains of study in these 5 fields are clearly different, and they seem to call for different methods of study. Philosophers have sometimes argued that one of these fields is first philosophy, the most fundamental discipline on which all philosophy or all knowledge of wisdom rests. Historically, it may be argued Socrates and Plato put ethics first, then Aristotle put metaphysics or ontology first, then Descartes put epistemology first, then Russell put logic first, and then Husserl put phenomenology first. Consider epistemology. As we saw, phenomenology helps to define the phenomena on which knowledge claims rest according to modern epistemology. On the other hand, phenomenology itself claims to achieve knowledge about nature of consciousness, a distinctive kind of first person knowledge through a form of intuition. Consider logic. As we saw, logical theory or meaning led Husserl into theory of intentionality, the heart of phenomenology. On one account, phenomenology explicates the intentional or semantic force of ideal meanings, and propositional meanings are central to logical theory. But logical structure is expressed in language, either ordinary language or symbolic languages like those of predicate logic or mathematics or computer systems. It remains an important issue of debate where and whether language shapes specific forms of experience, thought, perception, emotion, and their content or meaning. So, there is an important, if disputed, relation between phenomenology and logico-linguistic theory, especially philosophical logic and philosophy of language, as opposed to mathematical logic per se. Consider ontology. Phenomenology studies, among other things, the nature of consciousness, which is a central issue in the metaphysics or ontology, and one that leads to into the traditional mind body problem. Husserlian methodology would bracket the question of the existence of the surrounding world, thereby separating phenomenology from the ontology of the world. Yet Husserl's phenomenology presupposes theory about species, that individuals, universals and particulars, relations of part and whole, and ideal meanings, all parts of ontology. Now consider ethics. Phenomenology might play a role in ethics by offering analysis of the structure of will, valuing happiness and care for others, in empathy and sympathy. Historically, though ethics has been on the horizon of phenomenology, Husserl largely avoided ethics in his major works, though he featured the role of practical concerns, structure of the life, world of Geist, and he once delivered a course of lectures giving ethics a basic place in philosophy, indicating the importance of the phenomenology of sympathy in grounding ethics. Philosophy of phenomenology. The philosophy of mind may be factored into the following disciplines or ranges of theory relevant to mind. Phenomenology studies conscious experience as experience, analyzing the structure, the types, intentional forms and meanings, dynamics and certain enabling conditions of perception, thought, imagination, emotion and volition and action. Neuroscience studies the neural activities that serve as biological substrate to the various types of mental activity, including conscious experience. Neuroscience will be framed by evolutionary biology and ultimately by basic physics. Here the intricacies of the natural sciences, part of what the sciences are accountable for its structure of experience, analyzed by phenomenology. Cultural analysis studies the social practices that help to shape or serve as cultural substrates of the various types of mental activity, including conscious experience, typically manifest in embodied action. Here we study the import of language and other social practices, including background, attitudes or assumptions, sometimes involving particular political systems. Ontology of mind studies the ontological type of mental activity in general, ranging from perception to volition action. The lesson has explained in brief what the phenomenology means to Europe and Western world. As noted above, the phenomena that are the focus of phenomenology were assumed to present a rich character of lived experiences. Even Heidegger, while de-emphasizing consciousness, the Cartesian sin, dwelt on phenomena as what appears or shows up to us, to Dasein in our everyday activities, such as hammering a nail. Like Merleau-Ponty, Gurvitch especially studies the phenomenal field, embracing all that is presented in our experience. Arguably, for these thinkers, every type of conscious experience has its distinctive phenomenal character, its phenomenology, and the task of phenomenology discipline is to analyze that character. Note that in recent debates, the phenomenological character of an experience is often called its phenomenology, whereas in the established idiom, the term phenomenology names the discipline that studies such phenomenology.